Hey, what is up everybody? Welcome back to the Mid-Level Media channel, your hub for everything physical media and entertainment. I am Ken, and today guys, I'm gonna throw you some Vinegar Syndrome 4K recommendations. I haven't really done a Vinegar Syndrome recommendation video before because I'm only recently really getting into the label. So I thought I would recommend some of the 4Ks that I've been watching lately. And yeah, they've just been doing some great work with 4K. I would say right now, Vinegar Syndrome is at the top in terms of like boutique and 4K restorations. They are blowing Arrow Video out of the water. They're blowing Criterion out of the Screen Factory. All the other labels, I think that Vinegar Syndrome has just really nailed it with the 4K format. Like they are just killing it with their 4K restorations. I used to hold Arrow Video up as the standard, and Criterion, look, Criterion's been doing some good work in 4K as well. So is Screen Factory, to be honest, but Vinegar Syndrome, I don't know, there's just a level of quality there that's just top tier. So I'm excited to talk about some of these titles. I'm not going to be talking about Roadhouse or TCM2 or Freeway on 4K because I've reviewed those recently. But I'm going to dive into some of these other ones that I haven't really got a chance to break down and talk about yet. But before we get into it, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. We talk about 4Ks and physical media and Blu-rays and owning the movies that you love. So if you like that, all that kind of stuff, hit the subscribe button. And then comment down below, what do you think of my picks here today? I will be linking all of these down below. One of these has a pre-order. It's not officially out on Amazon right now, but it will be at the end of the month. And the other 4 are on Amazon. So I will be leaving all the Amazon links down below. They will be Amazon affiliate links. So if you use those, you will be supporting the channel. And I would greatly appreciate that. Only get them if what I'm saying to you guys sounds interesting. If I legitimately sell you on this title, on this 4K, definitely use those links. Don't just get them to get them, but get them because you really want them. And if you don't want to use the links, you don't have to. I'm just offering it. I'm just putting that option down there for you guys. Please use the links. I would appreciate it. But look, let's get into it. I've been talking long enough. I've been rambling long enough about Vinegar Syndrome. Let's talk about From Beyond on 4K. So this is an absolute recommendation. This one came out. This was a January Vinegar Syndrome release. It was announced at the very beginning of the year. I was so excited. It had a Screen Factory Blu-ray, and that Blu-ray looks really good. It does. I'm not going to act like the Blu-ray doesn't look good, but damn, does this 4K look excellent. Like, this is one of the best 4Ks that Vinegar Syndrome has ever done, and I don't feel like enough people are really talking about the quality of this 4K. It looks excellent. This is a movie that it's kind of a one-location movie. It's mostly in this house, but the colors in this movie are just outstanding, like the pinks and the purples, and that room when they walk in, and Barbara Crampton's in that dominatrix gear, and the walls are red, like all that stuff looked excellent. Barbara Crampton looked excellent, inspired by an H.P. Lovecraft story, but only the first 5 minutes are that story. They create everything else that comes after. You know, the writers and everything else of this movie created all that stuff. That was not based on any actual source material, just the first 5 minutes of this movie. But it's a great movie. The same director as Reanimator. I would argue that this is better than Reanimator. At least I enjoy it better as far as like Stuart Gordon, Jeffrey Combs, Barbara Crampton movies. I would say that I prefer this one slightly over Reanimator, but they're both great. This is just a fantastic movie. The practical effects in this film are outstanding, just out of this world. Like some of the stuff that they do with the makeup and just the models that they create, the monsters are just outstanding. And in 4K, it looks so good. Like it's just so like this, like some of the creature effects are so like gooey, and you can just see all that stuff. It's so slimy. And like I said, the colors, the purples, the pinks, all of those beautiful colors in that 4K HDR just really enhances it. And oh my God, this is just a great release. It looks fantastic. It is miles. The Screen Factory looked good, but I went back and rechecked it too. It is miles better than the Screen Factory release. Like it looked so good. So I highly recommend this 4K release. Now, another thing that you're going to be getting in here, and this is why I love Vinegar Syndrome, they will do new 4Ks and they will add new special features. Not all the labels are doing this. There is a 2-hour documentary that they add into this movie on the making of From Beyond. A 2-hour documentary that's brand new that Vinegar Syndrome produced and put in this movie. It is outstanding. It's a great documentary. And you got Jeffrey Combs, you got Barbara Crampton that come back to do interviews. I mean, Barbara Crampton and Jeffrey Combs never really left the world of horror. So it's cool to have a movie with those two, because they'll always be game to come back and talk about this movie. You know, unfortunately, Stuart Gordon passed away a number of years ago. We could not have him in here to talk about it, but there's a lot of interviews with Stuart Gordon here. But they're archival interviews that were in the previous Shout Factory release. So there's some good stuff in here. If you never purchased that Shout Factory, I'd say this is a no-brainer, because not only do you get that 2-hour documentary, but you get a number of archival interviews and special features and tons of audio commentaries. And Vinegar Syndrome just went all out, guys. They went all out with this release of From Beyond. This is a 3-disc set. You get a 4K, you get this on Blu-ray as well, and you also get all the special features on Blu-ray. So I can't say enough good things, and the artwork is fantastic. I love the artwork. I love everything about From Beyond. I highly recommend you get this 4K. Now, it is available right now. This is going fast off the Vinegar Syndrome website. Now, the slipcover is already sold out, but this 4K on Vinegar Syndrome's website is getting ready to be sold out. So I will link that down below. But it's also available for pre-order on Amazon. It'll be out on Amazon on February the 28th. So this upcoming Tuesday, it will be available to get. But I'll link that Amazon link down below as well. For the price of $44.98. Now, I feel like that price is going to go down come release day because most of the other 4Ks that we're going to talk about are under 30 bucks. So I feel like that price is way too high. That's probably going to go down. But it's $44.98 right now as I'm recording this video. So that is a definite recommendation. I also got a chance to watch Invisible Maniac on 4K. So I watched this one this week, and this was a ton of fun. I like this movie a lot. It is very much leaning on the exploitation side of the horror genre. Like, there's a lot of nudity in this. There's a lot of boobies in this movie. It's a story of a scientist that has a demonstration that goes wrong with his invisible serum. And all of his peers kind of laugh him out of the building, and then he just goes crazy. He gets admitted to a psych ward. He escapes the psych ward. He gets a job as a teacher in this school that only has a principal and like 8 students, which I found to be odd. But again, it's probably budget constraints, but there's only like 9 people in this school at any given time. And most of the movie takes place like during school hours in this school, but there's nobody else. Like, they did not spend any money on any extras in this movie, which just adds to the charm of it, I think. So you have these like 4 girls, 4 guys, like all the girls are cheerleaders, all the guys are jocks. You have this nerdy, like, you know, scientist that changes his identity, that's a teacher. So the kids are trying to like mess with him and stuff, and he kind of takes his revenge. Once he gets his invisible serum to work, he takes his revenge on all these kids. And it's just super fun. But I will say, it doesn't really get crazy in terms of like horror, slasher horror, until like the final act of the film. To the point where I'm watching it and I'm like, is anything actually going to happen? Or is he just going to turn invisible and peep on these girls throughout the whole movie? Is that going to be the movie? But no, that is not the case. There's actually a lot of stuff that happens in like the final 20-25 minutes of this movie, and it is glorious. It's fantastic. There's a lot of great gore, a lot of great effects work in this. Again, it's not a masterpiece of the horror genre. I don't want to sell it as that, but it's a fun, schlocky B-level. I was going to say 80s horror, but I think this actually came out in 1990 or 1991 or one of those years. But it's a fun movie. I enjoyed this one quite a bit. And like I said, a lot of nudity. It borders on like exploitation horror at points, but it's a fun movie, and it's so ridiculous in some respect. Like I said, you have this principal that's like all horned up and trying to hit on the teacher and the students as well. And so it's this movie would not play today, not at all. It would not play today. And this also has a lot of really good special features as well with the cast and crew. And the director, Riff Coogan, who actually went by an alter ego, I think, in some of the movies that he made, that he was actually kind of embarrassed of. He like went by a different name. So that was kind of interesting. Adam Rifkin. So I think it's Adam Rifkin, and then he went by Riff Coogan when he made movies like this. So kind of weird. But he also made a Detroit Rock City, which I thought was pretty interesting. I need to get that movie on Blu-ray. I think it has a Blu-ray, but I always loved that movie when I was a kid. So this is a fun movie. I recommend it. It's on Amazon right now. You can get it for $27.48. So I think that's a really good price, especially for a 4K release. And the 4K, I didn't even talk about the transfer, but it looked great. Like this 4K, I mean, the movie was shot on film. it didn't look cheap. Like, it really looked good. So I think this 4K is a great restoration. So yeah, The Invisible Maniac, highly recommend it. $27.48 on Amazon currently. And we got Dead Heat on 4K. I'm going to recommend this next. So this actually came out last January. I do have a review for this on the channel. This is a really fun movie. You got Joe Piscopo, you got Treat Williams. Treat Williams. I don't know. I like Treat or Tret. I don't know how to pronounce it, guys. But he was in a movie that I loved when I was a kid called Deep Rising, a monster movie that's super underrated. More people need to talk about that movie. Has a Kino Lorber release. But this is kind of like a buddy cop, almost like undead zombie kind of movie, because his partner turns into a zombie like halfway through the movie, and it's super fun. But this is a really good. This is one that I bought last year, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna give Vinegar Syndrome a shot more, because I bought this, and this was not like schlocky trash like 80s horror movie. This felt like a legitimately fun, like, cult classic buddy cop horror movie from the early 90s, late 80s. I can't remember exactly when this came out, but this was a really fun movie. I really enjoyed this one. Again, really great cast. They have great chemistry in it. And you got this image of him, Joe Piscopo, holding these panties on the back, which does have significance to the movie, but the cover art is great. You're not going to get this slipcover if you buy it now, but this is great cover art. You have some really good special features in here as well. The 4K transfer was fantastic. Like, Vinegar Syndrome, like I said, just does great work in 4K. And you can get this 4K right now for $27.24. So definitely highly recommend Dead Heat on 4K. That was a really, really fun movie. Now, this is one I didn't get a chance to do a standalone review for, and I really wanted to. I just didn't get the time. This came out last September. When it was announced, I was like, I need to start paying more attention to Vinegar Syndrome, because they might turn into a more legitimate boutique label with titles like this, and that is the Amityville Horror on 4K. So this is a top tier recommendation for me. First off, the Amityville Horror is not some schlocky B-level horror film from the 70s and 80s. This is a legitimately great horror film, a horror masterpiece, I would say. I love this movie. Now, I know a lot of people would say they like Amityville. Of the Amityville movies, they like the second one the best. I actually have not seen the second one. I would love for that to get a 4K release from Vinegar Syndrome as well. But I love this movie. It's such a great kind of old school haunted house film in the same vein as the Conjuring movies. You can see how so many movies gained inspiration from the film, like Amityville Horror. Like, The Exorcist really started that kind of like supernatural possession type horror, but what Amityville Horror it did was really kind of bring in the family dynamic of it. And I love this movie. I think Margot Kidder is freaking awesome, amazing in this movie. You got James Brolin, which is Josh Brolin's father's in this film. I think he's incredible. His descent into madness is just so haunting, so chilling, and I love this movie. It is a very slow burn. I'll give you that. Like, if you watch this and you're like, I was bored by 3/4 of the movie, I don't like this movie, I get it, but it really picks up at the end, and I think that it leads to a nice crescendo. And I think this is a masterpiece. I think it's a horror masterpiece. It's one of the most important horror movies ever made to me. And this 4K looked incredible. Like, I cannot say enough good things about the 4K. Like, when those walls started to bleed and the stairs started to bleed at the end, like in that HDR, like, that blood just looked incredible. And there's just such great detail in this. So Vinegar Syndrome, like I said, this is the first one that I got and watched, and I was like, I really need to start paying more attention to Vinegar Syndrome. They've got it figured out with both 4K and with what they're doing with their releases and their rollout. Like, actually getting legitimate films like Amityville Horror is going to do wonders for this label. But anyway, I'm rambling at this point. Amityville Horror, this is a great 4K. It's a great movie. It's a legitimately great horror film that I'm so happy that Vinegar Syndrome released. Some really great special features on here as well. This is going for $32.99 currently on Amazon, and it is showing right now on Amazon. I don't know if this is actually the case, that you are still going to get the slipcover with this if you order this off of Amazon, and it is a beautiful slipcover right there with the flies and the upside down cross. All that's embossed. You have the walls bleeding right there. All that's embossed. It is one of the best looking slipcovers that I have ever seen. I love this Amityville Horror on 4K, so highly recommend that one. Now let's get into the one that I just recently watched, and that is Ticks. on 4K. So this was actually sent to me by a friend of mine on YouTube, Joe Martinez. So I want to thank him for sending this to me. He sent it to me a year ago to watch, and I'm just getting around to watching it now because I wanted to make this video, and I was like, I need to watch one more 4K. So I'm going to watch Ticks because I've been sitting on this one for the longest time. And this was really fun. I enjoyed this one a lot. It's definitely a creature feature. You can tell that they drew a lot of inspiration from films like Arachnophobia. In particular, the end when all the ticks are like crawling on the walls, it definitely gave me like Arachnophobia type vibes. But the cast in this movie is really kind of interesting because you have Carlton from Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and you also have Seth Green in this movie as well. And one of the mom actress, or the woman, I recognize her from other things, but I didn't know off the top of my head where she was from. But Clint Howard's in this movie as well, and he has a very like memorable look to him. Like at a certain point, like he gets this like tick embedded in his face, and his look is like, I don't know, it's so cool. Like but the effects work, the makeup and the practical effects, and actually like what they did to animate these ticks, like it doesn't look 100% real, but it kind of does, and you kind of buy into it. It's definitely not schlocky, and you don't like, it doesn't take you out of it by any means when you see them like crawling towards people and stuff. It feels kind of real. So I think that they did a great job with some of the practical effects and the makeup effects. All that stuff looked great. And in 4K, I know some people, when it comes to films like this, you know, especially like older horror films, they feel like 4K makes stuff look too fake. It just makes you notice more of the stuff that you wouldn't have noticed back when it came out on VHS or even DVD. I really don't think that's the case here. And I think that's a testament to the effects work of this movie, the fact that you can watch this in 4K and view this in such great detail, and it still looks great. Like all the effects still look great. So, but yeah, I thought this 4K looked excellent. There's some great special features, a 3-part documentary with the cast and crew talking about this movie. And yeah, this is just a really fun one, really fun creature feature. My one complaint is I don't feel like enough people died. Like I really felt like they could have, because in the end, really, I don't want to spoil it, but in the end, kind of mostly everybody gets away. And I would have liked the death count to be a little bit higher, for the movie to be a little bit more gruesome. But in a way that kind of makes it a little bit more lighthearted, a little bit more fun, maybe a little bit more accessible for a younger audience to watch and enjoy. It is disgusting though. It is like, there is some parts, like I was trying to eat when I was watching, like eating some snacks, and I had to put it down. I think I was eating like chips and salsa or something. I had to put it down and stop eating because there was some parts with like, just like the pus and just the look, like the way they shoot some stuff just look disgusting. And the actual like tick coming out of the skin, it's nasty. Like there's some truly nasty scenes in this movie. And in 4K, like it's only enhanced, so it just looks even more disgusting. But I highly recommend Ticks on 4K. This was a really fun one, and it looked fantastic on 4K. You can get it for $29.37 right now on Amazon. So yeah, guys, that is my 5 recommendations: From Beyond, Dead Heat, Invisible Maniac, Amityville Horror, and Ticks on 4K. These are some great Vinegar Syndrome 4K releases, and I highly recommend them. Again, I will link those down below, so use those links if you want to purchase any of those based on my recommendations. So thank you all so much for watching this Vinegar Syndrome recommendation video here today. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, comment down below your thoughts on my recommendations. Also, leave me some recommendations if you have them in the comment section below. Turn on those bell notifications and follow me on all of my social media accounts. I'm on Twitter, I'm on Letterboxd, I'm on Instagram, I'm on TikTok, I'm on all the places. Follow me down below, and we'll see you next time.